All right. What is going on, everybody? This is the Lone Chemist Podcast. This is episode 18. We are legal. Congratulations, everybody. We did
We're
it.
live.
We're live. My name is Johnny. I'm the Lone Chemist, and I didn't scare him off the first time, so he's back for more. We have the Nando Meister, Nando from Nando V Movies, a.k.a. Matt, a.k.a. any other name you want to expend on yourself. How's it going, man?
What's up? Hey, those are my two names. I like it's the Nando stuck so well. I really never had another good nickname. I've
Really?
always not like I've always wanted one, but I like one that like if I were to join the X-Men, that would be my, like Wheels or something. But like you ever remember? I don't know if this is like before your time, but there was like a bunch of cartoon characters that were owned by Burger King that all were on all the bags and they were all like kids. I'm gonna find them, but they were always like that whole kind of uh silly X-Men names, but for real people who don't have any superpowers. Here we go. They are. I want to find one with their lingo and IQ and Jaws. Yeah, it's the dumbest
Wait.
thing.
This is a Burger King toy, you said?
That's right. This was Burger King. I'm gonna put it in our chat. This was Burger King. Like they were mascots, so these would be
yeah, I remember
drawn
these.
on the
Yes.
bags,
Okay, I
and they
remember
would
that
have little
shit.
comics sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like just like they all had silly nicknames, even though they didn't have anything interesting except for the one that was, I guess, very smart, whose name was IQ. Like I don't know what Jaws did to earn Jaws. I guess he just ate a lot. And I don't know about lingo. I feel like that seems I don't like the connotations behind that one.
Yeah, I
But
was gonna
yeah,
say like that's you're barking up the wrong tree with that one.
it was back in the pre-2000s. I feel like I must have been really young. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
like
Wait, how old are you? You're
I am. I said this, someone asked me this on the Discord today, and I said I'm not that old, but I'm old enough that I'm starting to feel super old. So like I was a '90s kid, so I'm in that zone.
yeah, me too. I was born in '93, so I'm 25 right now. But yeah, like it's weird. Like 25 is the first birthday where I woke up and I was like, oh shit, like I'm like a quarter of a century. I'm like, god damn, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, like yeah. I mean, I'm pre this, but still, or post this, but still, I'm at that age. Like, there's that turning point where you start watching professional sports, or you pay attention to actors, and you realize, like, oh, what the girl, what Margot Robbie is like 20. I'm older than her, like, and she's a multimillionaire, I'm assuming. So that's unfortunate. Um, yeah,
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 man.
like it's not cool.
Wrestling with your own, irrelevance. Yeah, I feel that for sure.
Yeah.
What's going on in the life of Nando, man? So what's on the agenda for the channel recently? Do you have anything coming up you want to plug, or anything interesting you want to start working on, or what do you got?
As we do it, I'm like right now I'm planning a new, not like planning because I've already done the first of my Man of Steel rewrite, so that's a project that I'm working on now. So I've got another one of those coming out soon that'll get you right into the halfway point of the movie. Then I'm going to do more of those. But besides that, I have a list of like in my phone, and then usually on the whiteboard behind me, although I haven't used that for a little while, of just other movies I've always wanted to do. Like I've wanted to do an Ant-Man 2 or Ant-Man and the Wasp 2 pitch, or just small change to Ant-Man. And
Okay.
it all, like I was planning on doing the Ant-Man one, and then I just had trouble writing it, so I kept pushed it back. But it's all super fluid. Anything could show up at any time.
Yeah. I mean, like I told you last time, I think that's a problem with me where it's like I have a good idea, I write a little bit and I edit a little bit, but then I either get too distracted with my actual job because I'm a chemist and my life sucks, or like I just like get another idea for something else and it's hard for me to like hone like my creativity for like one thing because like I either have a distraction or like some other thing pops into my head. But I mean that's I feel like with you, you're very like, okay, I have to finish this video before I go on to the next one, and so you make sure like that thing is like ironclad and like you're able to like segment it out. Like that's something I envy a lot for sure.
Yeah, not Iron Man, sorry. What was it? Aquaman is the first one that I've like started writing, gotten close to finished with, and then been like, this is taking me too long. I have to do something else that I'm closer to done with. And like, but yeah, usually that does not happen. Usually I'm pretty good um at finishing a project I start immediately. But I'm sure I'll have more done soon.
Yeah,
Like I think I've got a lot of cool stuff this year that is like on the docket that I'm excited about. So
nice.
yeah, once and you know what? That's the other thing too. Like once what's the first one? I guess Captain Marvel's probably the first big release of the summer, and then
Yeah.
Shazam,
With
and
the summer, I think it's in March, right? Captain Marvel's in March, I want to say.
yeah. See, that's the thing though, especially with Marvel. I feel like the release schedule has just been like for summer movies has been creeping up ever since Infinity War pushed into April. Now it's like you have Infinity War and you have Shazam earlier that month or late March or something. And
Yeah.
then you have Captain Marvel, and it almost feels like it's not the summer movie season anymore. It's just the like blockbuster movie season, and that starts with whatever the first Marvel movie is of the year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, I don't know how I feel about Captain Marvel. Like, those trailers really like didn't really sell me the movie. Like, a lot of the lines are pretty cringy, to be honest with you. And I hope that it's just deceptive editing and like maybe something that's kind of corny in the trailer. But I don't know. Like, I just hope the movie's good because I mean, there's a lot of hype behind it.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think it will probably be pretty. Like, I don't even know what you compare to. Probably like Black Panther. Like it'll be fun. It won't be the most amazing movie they've ever made, but it'll be okay.
But it'll win an
It'll
Academy Award.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, it might get nominated. I don't know about win, but yeah, I don't have enough. Like, see, there's so many small things about that movie that it's like, okay, we're gonna do Ronan, we're gonna do him right. You got more Coulson, you got Jude Law, you got
Yeah,
a bunch of actors that I like. You have a cat.
you're in
Like,
the
there's just so
'90s.
much.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, there's so much that appeals to me. If it were good, I would be like, of course, all of these things. But it's just, I mean, it hasn't grabbed me yet. But also I'm sure it's gonna be fine. They have some person, some like guy that just makes all the movies fine, no
yeah,
matter
exactly.
what. Like it's gonna be good. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm,
exactly.
I'm
It's
most
just like
excited for.
the fucking some of the lines, like, your heroes, noble warrior heroes, and I'm like, is that supposed to be jarring because you're an alien and you don't get the Earth language, or is it because you're really bad at writing scripts? Like, I don't know which one I'm supposed to ascertain there, but um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's definitely a mix of both. But I feel like I don't know what it is. I feel like that. See, I said this in a tweet right as that trailer came out, but I'm so used to the Captain Marvel. Like my, if I close my eyes and think about Captain Marvel, it's the one from Avengers: Earth Mightiest Heroes, the cartoon, and she was very like tough, and it was a key part of her character to the point where even if my Captain Marvel is tough, but isn't like kind of angry all the time with
yeah,
everybody, then it doesn't feel exactly right. But yeah, I don't know. And also, they change the lines and the delivery so often in these movies and stuff from trailers to actual movie that if they did it a little differently, I feel like it could be an awesome line, and maybe they'll just take a different take of it.
yeah. That's true. That's true. And also, I'm having a flippant judgment on a movie that I hadn't even seen yet. So, like, I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
but
I mean, that's what the trailer's for. It's supposed to
oh,
sell
for
you
sure,
on the movie. So you
supposed
have,
to stir the pot.
you have to have an opinion. Not you have to have an opinion, but there's nothing wrong with having an opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I mean, like, granted, like, I've seen some stuff from Captain Marvel, but like, I was much more versed in a character like Thanos. Like, I grew up reading all the original Infinity War, like comics, like Infinity Gauntlet, and like that entire series. I basically read. I even read like Thanos's like solo run, in the comics that he's been in. Captain Marvel,
Mhm.
I just don't know that much about her character, like, to be honest with you. So maybe it's just because it's a place of ignorance. I don't really know exactly how the character is supposed to be portrayed, like if it were to be translated to a live action format. But I mean, I'm sure, like you said, like there's some kind of formula they're making in the back room where all Marvel films are like at least like passable. So I don't think I have anything to worry
Yeah.
about there.
And if you had asked me about this maybe 2 weeks ago, I would have said, and Samuel L. Jackson's in the movie, and he makes all movies watchable and good. But I just saw a movie with Samuel L. Jackson, and I'm super unhappy with. So I don't think I can say that with confidence
What movie?
anymore. Glass. I did not
Oh,
care
you
for
saw
it.
it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We did. I saw it. It feels like I saw it a year ago, but I probably saw it a week ago today because I went to a nice little pre-screening down here, and yeah, I did not care for it. We just put out our podcast about it on mostly nitpicking, the podcast
Yeah,
that I do with my co-host DJ. And it's the most nitpickable movie ever. I forget who the guy that does the Folding Ideas show, whose name I cannot remember
I don't
at
remember his
this
name. Yeah.
moment. Um, he tweeted out after he saw it, he was like, there are no characters, there's only lore or something like that. Like it's just a movie describing the lore of, why everybody says this and what organization set this up, and it is just all. I mean, I know some people like it, and if you like it, that's great, but I could not care for it less.
Yeah, like I've read a lot of different things about it. Some people like if they're, I feel like there are a lot of M Night Shyamalan apologists, or maybe just like advocates, where they've seen what he can be at its very very best, and then they use that to like rationalize all the shortcomings of his movies and stuff. But I feel like with this one, it's like he. I don't know. It feels like he was kind of up his own ass from what I've read. Obviously, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really comment specifically. But like, I feel like he was just it was basically M Night Shyamalan like jerking himself off from like what I've read like from the reviews and stuff, and also like I from the lore thing you were talking about. It sounds like he was like presenting lore, but like it raised more questions than it actually answered. And like I hear like the ending like is oddly hopeful, but when it really shouldn't be, or like some like weird conflicting tones of emotion and stuff. I've read like literally every single kind of opinion under the sun about this movie, and I haven't seen it yet. So I plan on seeing it, but like if you were to give like a blank rating, like what would you say?
Oh, like I don't know, out of 10, like maybe a 3. I
Really?
think it's yeah. I described it on the podcast as like all movie. If it's just a movie, if it was just a movie on its own, all movies are like some sort of artistic, like almost like a floor exercise, like a gymnastic thing where you have ribbons and you twirl them around and it's all exciting. And M. Night Shyamalan with these twists introduces a trampoline into his, and it's this cool, like, whoa, it's gonna be awesome. And it doesn't matter how many flips he does, if he lands on his head and breaks his neck, he has failed. And the twists and the resolution of this movie, at least in my opinion, is so unsatisfying, and like it just makes the rest of the movie, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
It's
that's what
so
I heard.
strange.
It's like he was so like devoted to his idea of the twist. Like, and honestly, I think someone needs to tell him like, look, you don't need a twist to tell a good, satisfying movie. Like, it's okay. Like, you can tell a good mystery caper without like this like grand twist. That's the thing where I was reading like M Night was just jerking himself off, where it's like he made his own lore and then he put another twist into that lore, and like obviously I don't know what it is because I didn't read any like spoiler reviews, but like I hear it's just like the most like it's like the easiest like style of writing where it's like okay, like I could have fucking thought of that. So
I legitimately think there was a script because he said this in interviews. The third act used to be something else, and he was forced to change it because of politics or like political something. Which makes me think there was some other, like I don't know, like some sort of, like, let's say it ended with some terrorism, something or other, right? So I really feel like there are things that they rewrote that are brought up in the third act that were not in early drafts of the script because they're not seeded in any way. Like it's not like a good twist where you can go back and watch the movie and be like,
mm,
oh, now that I understand what's going on, this scene has a different context. It's like now that I know what's going on, none of this makes any sense.
yeah,
Like, why
it's
would
like
this character do
like
that? It's insane.
it's like Get Out, for example. Like Get Out, like if you watch that with like the whole ending and the auction scene and
Yeah.
stuff, and you go back and you're like, oh, why is Rose being shady to
Mm,
that cop? That makes sense. Why is the dad referencing this thing? That makes sense. But I feel like with this, like the twist, like at least from what I've read, it just like the movie collapses into itself like upon this
yeah.
twist.
I've never seen a movie like this that where the third act, it's like, I don't know, the third act burns all the goodwill created by the first two acts. But I mean, in my opinion, it wasn't. even that much goodwill. But
I mean,
that's just me. Some
yeah,
people like it, good for them, but I'm not a fan.
yeah. Well, I mean, Wonder Woman's the same thing. Well, I mean, not the same thing. Like, but you know, the third act is pretty shit, and the first two
Like
acts
it's
generate some goodwill.
it's a bad third act. It's not even like terrible, but it just isn't nearly as good as the other one. But the third act would almost be like in Wonder Woman, if Wonder Woman's third act, it turned out that like, oh god, what's a good one, that like Steve Trevor was secretly the villain or something, or like
Oh, and it's like
just something
conspiring
that
against
would
her and
make
shit.
none of the rest of the movie make sense, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
why did he do this? And it's like, well, I don't know, why did he? And yeah, it's so, or like if Diana, I couldn't even I can't even think of an like explanation, but yeah, it's really really bizarre.
Yeah, I gotta see it because like I've heard so much about the film that like I might as well just make my own opinion for it. But like I don't know, I've been off the fucking end night train since I saw the last Airbender. Like that was like the nail in the coffin
Mm-hmm.
for me because like the rest of his films, like yeah, The Happening was a meme. Like The Village was interesting, but it was just like kind of fucking bad. Now I really think about it, like Signs was okay, and you know he made Unbreakable and you know The Sixth Sense, which are masterpieces. But then like all the other movies, like After Earth and fucking I forget the other one that he made, but The Visit. I think I didn't like
Visit,
that one
yep.
either. Yeah, I don't know. He's a very polarizing director. He's one of the most polarizing ones for sure. I
And honestly, if you had asked me after Split, I was like, nah, he's just a good director who had a real like rough spell. But
but now it's
I
like
don't know anymore. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm like, I just don't know what his deal is and like what he's going for, um, because of how weird this one was and how much control he must have had over it. It's not like
Yeah.
Airbender where it's like this is a property and he has to work within this framework and it's funded by this big company and it's 100 million. Like this movie costs like, I don't know, for like 20 or $40 million to make, and it was mostly financed by him. So I have no idea. It's so confusing to me.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. But also, I think in 2 months, no one will be talking about this because it's not that
Yeah.
like interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It just sucks because like, dude, like I love Unbreakable. I hold that Unbreakable is like one of the like the most well crafted movies like of the last like, you know, 20 years or so, where it's like legitimately it's like it's such a you know, and Quentin Tarantino had a great point in this. It's a brilliant retelling of the Superman mythos where it's like, you know, actually like I actually talked about this in another podcast where like the trailer came out for that movie and I remember like back in like 2000 I saw it and like I thought it was going to be like a thriller or like a mystery, but literally the story is what if Superman was on Earth and had no idea he was Superman, like, and like that's a
Hmm.
really interesting way of looking at that story. And then they just like they introduced like the shit with Split, which I mean I liked James McAvoy in Split and I liked, you know, all those kind of beats that it took. But like, why do you have to have it link into Unbreakable? Like, why can't you just like tell a singular story? There's no reason for it to exist like that.
I really, really, really don't know, and I, it's so hard with directors where like the movie isn't super well received because they don't want to talk about it as much. Although like you got your, your Zack Snyder's who do a million interviews and like will defend the choices in the movie, which I think sometimes the defenses aren't great, but I do kind of respect. But like, I feel like I would love to know exactly why he did this. And he says this was the plan all along, but considering what happens, I just find that really hard to believe.
Yeah, that's just strange. All right, another movie
Yeah.
we both saw recently,
Yes.
Aquaman. So
Yeah.
so I've talked about this with the High Top Films, Alex My Top Films in the chat. What's up, buddy? I'd love to get your reactions on Aquaman, man.
I
What'd you think?
think it was fun. It was
Yeah, it was fun.
exactly
Fun's a
what I
word.
thought it would be. If you watch the trailer, you got the pretty much the whole movie, not like the plot, but the feeling of it completely, and it pretty much completely delivered on all of that. I think there were bits and pieces that worked better than other bits and pieces. Like I do feel like it kind of was like a bunch of different movies where it was kind of like Black Panther and kind of like Thor and kind of like Aladdin and kind of like Ant-Man. Like there are parts of the movies that I like better than others, but I think it was overall as good as that could have could have been without being like super self-serious and stuff like that. So I was happy with it. I was proud of them for doing it right.
I think proud is a strong word for me personally. Like, okay,
Yeah,
so
I
first
guess
of all, here's what I'll say. James Wan is really an auteur director. I've always kind of felt that about him, but like he really has a really unique style, and even with something as like zany and silly as this, he really comes through here with a really interestingly put together like visual medium. The problem that I have with it though is not the the visual flair and the amazing camera moves, which by the way, that first scene in the house, that one take, like the camera swooping during the fight scene, I thought that was incredible. Like the sheer technical mastery that would have taken is just incredible. Like James Wan and all the production designers did a great job with that. The script, man, was one of the cringiest scripts I've ever heard in all of my life. Like they literally they had a line in the beginning with Nicole Kidman and the dad. In the sea, we don't see our tears. On land, we feel them. And I legitimately felt uncomfortable in my own skin listening to that line. I was like, ugh, fuck.
I
Like, ugh.
yeah, I'm with you on that, except for like you haven't seen Glass. You don't know what cringy
It's
dialogue
worse?
is. Like the
Wait.
dialogue in Glass. There's all those scenes where like Samuel L. Jackson just tells you like comic books have pages like the Bible has pages. And like it's just that part of it killed me.
Oh,
But I know
man.
what you mean. Like I mean it was not definitely the best written. Like having watched Man of Steel a million times in the last 2 weeks, I think the writing on that is significantly like better than Aquaman. And like you look at it in hindsight, it's like, oh, this movie did have a lot of kind of some interesting lines, and people were saying interesting things, and it was just kind of execution maybe wasn't great. But yeah, I mean Aquaman, I don't know, it's like a Fast and the Furious movie. That's kind of exactly what I think
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, 100%. Like it's not like high art, but there are some really genuinely interesting things that he does. Like but the thing that was really weird about that movie is like there were some things that really really worked. Like there were some things that like with the camera moves and the coloring and the lighting, and then like I mean obviously the script falls short, but then there were other things where like some of the CGI is absolutely atrocious, and it's
Hmm.
weird because like you have half of the movie that looks like seamless with reality, and the other half looks abysmal, and it's like
Right.
it was just strange. It was kind of jarring because it's like, okay, these fish look really good, but then these fish look like shit, and I'm just like, that's kind of strange. Obviously, like the whole hair underwater thing, like we're nowhere near close to like being able to perfect that, like to the point where like it's like seamless with reality. That's a lot of like nuances and like animation, but I don't know, man. It was just weird, but because like there was some actual like jaw dropping moments, like when the fucking lava crab, whatever the monster thing is, erupts like from the sea like depths. That looked
Hmm.
incredible. But like the sea turtles and the shark, like in the beginning, like I was like, damn, man, this is like they should have spent a little time with the the CGI artists and stuff. But
Yeah, I mean
I'm not saying it's a terrible film. Like it's fine. Like for me, it was fine.
it seems like a lot of that from what I've read about from before seeing it. I haven't really seen anything since it, but like it seems like they just had to invent a lot of that stuff, like inventing the technique for filming the way they did underwater.
Sure.
There's no other movie had really done that much of it. So I mostly respect it. And like there were bits where like characters swimming looked better than I expected they would.
Yeah, sure.
There's one scene, it must have been the one where Orm and Miras are talking for the first time, like the one or Nearest, the one where one of the eight seeds that gets interrupted by an explosion, but the one where it's like the exposition and story of the kingdoms or whatever. Like I remember seeing Miras or Nearest's hair, or not Khal Drogo, what is it? Ivan Drago's hair flowing around, and
Mhm.
I was like, oh, it's not bad. Like that could be much worse. But I mean, like I mean, I think the best parts of that movie were, I mean, you liked the Nicole Kidman thing. I thought that was fine, but I liked all the stuff in whatever Sicily or not Sicily. Yeah, Sicily, right?
Yeah.
The stuff that was basically Aladdin. Like
No,
I
that was
thought that
great.
was
Like, yeah,
fun to
Black
watch,
Manta.
and yeah, yeah, Black Manta was cool. Running on the rooftops, like the colors, having those colors was nice. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was just
like
happy
visually
they
it
didn't
was the
screw it
most
up.
captivating film in DC's ever made, like for sure. And
Hmm.
but like I don't know, like I think that like they need to pay more attention to the actual having like a good succinct amount of dialogue and having like a really cohesive story. And so I hope that Shazam gives that, which I mean it looks it looks okay from like what I've seen from it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of interesting things they do in terms of like storytelling devices because it's big meets a superhero movie. So like it's going to be interesting
Right.
just because he's a child, which would be kind of a cool angle to put on it. But I just really hope that DC pulls the nose up. Which I mean, this is a good indication. I had a lot of fun with the movie, but me personally, I just couldn't get past the really clunky script, even if there were some genuinely amazing visual stuff that James Wan did for sure.
Yeah, like I think that there was enough about I would say Aquaman's biggest problem was that it felt like it had to explain every single thing in the
Yeah,
movie. So like that bridge when they're like, "What's that?" That's the bridge into the place, and these are the guns, and you can't get past the guns. And it was all setting that up just so when they got past the guns, it was kind of exciting, as if we, the audience, would see those guns when they're trying to get past them, and that was the first time we saw them and go, "What are those guns for?" Like, of course it would. Like, you didn't need to spend the 30 seconds you spent explaining that. And so if you're making a movie like Shazam without all that exposition, you just have to explain like this is the wizard, he gives you this power, and boom, you got it. And like I feel like Shazam, because of the way the story works, can learn information really naturally, where it's like he is just figuring out what his powers are and how the lightning works, and there doesn't have to be a scene where or every 10 minutes the wizard doesn't have to sit him down and go, okay, so this is how this power works, and this is what you can do with it, and this is what it's based on and stuff. Like, I can't remember, I haven't read a Shazam comic in a very long time, but all of his powers are like based off of his like the initials in his name, right,
yeah.
or
It's all
something.
the Greek gods. Basically, it's like Shazam. So it's
I'm
like
trying to remember what they are.
it's Solomon,
Yep, the
Hercules,
wisdom of Solomon.
Apollo, Zeus, Ares, and then
I would
I forget the
imagine
last one.
Mercury, or no, that would be
Mars.
Hermes.
I think it's Mars, I believe.
Is
But
it?
like I'm
Okay.
Greek, so I should really know this. I'm pretty ashamed of myself right now, to be honest with you. Shazam,
Let's
letter.
see. Because yeah, I was trying to figure this out in my head the other day. Yeah, the wisdom of Solomon.
Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Atlas,
Yeah,
Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. All right, so I got one wrong. My bad. But
MSHA.
yeah, it's like the strength, the courage, yeah, the flight, the electric powers, I guess, speed. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, but like it'll be interesting to see because like obviously like the antagonist for like all of Shazam, like the conceptual antagonist is Seven Deadly Sins, and obviously Black Adam is going to play a role in the second one. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the villain. I don't know much about the villain in this one, to be honest with you.
Dr. Sylvana.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not a huge. I have obviously seen cartoons and like I've like read up on like his like biography. I don't know much about that, and if there's any like kind of there with the villain, but I mean I really don't know, to be honest with you with what's the
I
deal with
feel
him.
like a while back I was thinking about this and I was like, what are the Shazam films? I don't know any of them. And once you get past the two or three that you'd recognize, they are so weird. Like one of them is like a caterpillar. Um,
Really?
I'm looking at this now. His name is Mr. Mind. He's like a caterpillar that can mind control you. Dr. Savannah, I feel like, is kind of just a he's like a mad scientist who wants to steal Shazam's powers. I honestly can't remember much else about him.
I think his
Um,
family is sick or something like that, and like he wants to like bring them back or something like. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of a different villain, but like, isn't like his family like some? It's like, but like from what I understood and like from what I've read from like different like character shit online, he's like a guy
hmm.
who like he was like a surgeon or a homeopathic doctor or something, and like he was trying to like cure his family, and then when science failed him, he turned to black magic or something like that to like heal
Mm.
them. I think if I'm not
That
mistaken, I
could
could be thinking of someone else, but
that could definitely. I mean, that would definitely fit. And he actually owns the caterpillar, so
there we
that's
go.
pretty good. And then the other one, like obviously there's Black Adam, who is kind of cool, but also kind of boring in terms of like a fight because he's also just kind of Shazam but evil.
Yeah.
But then you got Captain Nazi, who is like the opposite of Captain America. But that wouldn't make any sense. And it's just because
That'd be a meme
Captain
waiting to
Atom's
happen.
been around forever, or not Captain Atom. Shazam's been around for forever, so he's accumulated some Nazi villains over the years.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we'll
Um,
see. It does seem like the seven deadly enemies of man will show up in this movie to some extent, and I imagine from a trailer we've seen, it seems like Doctor Savannah's probably gonna like get some Shazam power, so they'll have a big punch up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's some routes they could go, but he's a lot like what's like Wonder Woman, where there's like three or four villains that everyone knows that work, and then a bunch of other ones that it's just like he's a guy who has mind control, and he's been in 8 comics. Good
yeah,
luck. So
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
they're scraping the bottom of the barrel soon.
Yeah. It just sucks that, like, the DC is kind of thrust themselves in this position where it's like you know, they're trying to like right now they're trying to like go back and like take like, characters that are like either more irrelevant now or more obscure because they've already
Mm-hmm.
fucked up their main characters like so badly, and like the actors actually don't even want to do the roles anymore, which is like kind of upsetting. And like
Yeah.
I was always so like I read Marvel and DC when I was a little kid. Even though I thought that Marvel wrote better comics in terms of like plots and stories, I always latched on the DC characters a lot more, and they were always more iconic to me. So like the fact that they're having to like back themselves into a corner where like they're trying to like scavenge what they can out of this universe is kind of upsetting. But um Shazam looks like they're maybe on more the right track, but we'll have to see what
Yeah.
March
I
or April
think
comes out, I think. Yeah.
it's coming up. I feel like people thought we were gonna get the second trailer this week, but it turned out that was a lie. So I think it is April, which is crazy because then, I mean, like not technically anymore, but there will be 3 movies starring Captain Marvel within a month of each other or something. Like it's bizarre. Um, Even though like legally they can't really call him that or something. But yeah, and the other thing I like about it that is completely different than all the rest of these and should not matter but does is Shazam. I feel like Shazam usually lives in Fawcett City,
Mhm.
but in this movie he lives in Philadelphia, so just set in the real world. And I
Yeah,
feel like
that
this
I
movie
was gonna
is
say
gonna
like
feel like a real thing.
but like okay, like subjective opinions aside about that. DC, the point of it is to be like in fictional cities. Marvel is the one that's
Hmm.
like in the real world. So it's like what like are they kind of diverged from like the actual biography of the character, or they just like made a boo boo in the writing room, or what?
I think I read whatever his name is, the David Silverman, I think is his name, or whatever the director, whoever that is, said that he wanted to just ground this movie in reality and make it more not necessarily like accessible, but just more of a thing that a kid could watch and go, oh, that's a place. And it is if you because I not from Philly, but I live in Philly or like around Philly, and like you'd recognize the subway and some of the skylines and stuff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
um but yeah, it's definitely we'll see how that works, but I do think not having too much exposition, that much to explain, is going to make that movie just give that movie so much more of an opportunity to be cool. And also I really like Zachary Levi.
Oh, for
Having
sure.
seen him in season 2 of Marvelous Miss Maisel recently, I'm like, oh yeah, forgot about him. He's cool.
Yeah, he was in what the fuck's the show's he in? He was in Chuck, I believe. Chuck.
Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I liked the show a lot when I was a little kid. That was a good one. Um, all right, let's change this topic. Too much superhero shit. Let's talk
Yeah.
about a different kind of superhero, I guess villain in this case, Vice. So I've seen Vice, I think 3 times now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude. Like honestly, I won't have my fanboying this. I really fucked with Vice. I really loved it a lot. There were a couple things that I wasn't a fan of in the movie, but I just thought it was, like I can see why it's so polarizing and people like maybe aren't crazy about it. And obviously, you know, if you view it as like a not a subjective thing and you view it on party lines of politics, and you're gonna fucking hate it, unless you can actually
Hmm.
suspend that and just focus on the movie and the movie making. But I really loved it. I thought that the writing was really snappy. I thought that even though some of the nonlinear stuff didn't really work for me, which we'll talk about in a second, I thought that the way they presented the movie was really, really interesting. And I loved the editing. The editing, I think, was some of the most interesting in 2018. Like the whole thing about how when every time he's talking to Bush, like that little like, clip of him like fly fishing and like lowering like his little hook and like casting in the ocean. And then when he finally gets him to say, it's not a bad idea. Like, the rod gets pulled. He's baiting Bush into giving him all the power, which is like, that was such an interesting thing because it's like every time he sees him, like it cuts back to fishing. Like, why the fuck is this important? And then when you finally see that moment, I'm like, holy shit. No, it took a lot of like, careful planning, but I really loved it. But I can see why people hate it. But me personally, I just thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. It's tough. Well, it's tough because The Big Short is the closest thing he's made to this, and The Big Short has two humongous like advantages, which is The Big Short is about a specific event, um,
Yeah.
and The Big Short is based on a book that's super well written. So I'd say the biggest problems with Vice come from not being that, having to cover so much time and not being able to not like tell one story, but tell a story. Well, like make a story out of events outside of this is kind of this is where he started and then he did this and then he did this and met this guy and I think I think it starts really working for me once Dick Cheney becomes vice president at
Yeah.
that point, or even like when he starts getting involved with Bush. So like when he gets on the committee, because then it really is like the characters all come together. I think there's a lot of that there, but like I would say I did really enjoy it, and I thought the performances were fun, and yeah, I think it does enough things that are different and kind of interesting that I feel like I'd find it hard to fault it compared to something a lot more like a safer version of a biopic. Like I haven't seen the Freddie Mercury one, but everything I've heard from that
Don't
is
waste your
just kind
time.
of like, yeah, everything I've heard is just it is exactly what you think it is. Like they want to write a song, everyone tells them they can't write a song, they write the song, and like this the filming and right like you were saying the editing and the performances make this really really different. And I just think every single person in the cast was just really fun to watch, so
Mhm.
that made it really easy to not like care about, but to be like, this scene isn't the most amazing scene, or like this isn't the most interesting thing that he did, but it's Steve Carell being like being a jerk
Donna
and
Rumsfeld.
yelling at people. Yeah, like that's fun to watch, so I'm in for that. And like obviously I'm a huge Sam Rockwell shill, so like pretty much any scene he's in is something that I'm interested in, so there's a lot of that.
Dude, I
But
will
yeah.
say, speaking of Sam Rockwell, how about that foot tap edit when it's like Bush is
Oh
giving
yeah.
the address and like to his foot, and then in Afghanistan to the foot. I thought that was one of the coolest like editing jumps I've probably ever seen in the film. Like I could suck the dick of this film all day, but I agree with you. It is not a perfect film by any means. There are many problems with it, but I
Hmm.
think that the actual sheer audacity it took to make a film like this, like not many films are being made the way that Adam McKay is making them, which is like something
Right,
that I
yeah.
was like a huge fan of. It was original, and like it had enough historical accuracy where you can actually be like, oh, wait a minute, I remember them championing the unitary executive theory. I remember them, and championing intense interrogation. I remember them actually having, dude. And the thing that really fucking struck out for me, like the thing that really made me connect emotion to the movie is my mom was in New York on 9/11. And so like
Hmm.
that scene when Lynn is like, watching the 9/11 footage, like she's in New York City on that day and is watching it like from a diner or an office, some shit like
Mm.
that. Like watching that, like I instantly related to it because like obviously like, Dick Cheney does some monstrous things, but you see, that very vulnerable and human moment just for a glimpse, and that kind of motivates a lot of things you see later in the film. Like maybe because like either my political leanings or just the fact that I just am a big fucking Adam McKay fanboy and I'll probably like anything that he does. Maybe that kind of influences my perception of the movie, but I really think that even with flaws aside, I don't think there's been quite as an original of a movie as Vice, was in 2018. Like I thought it was great, but I agree with you. There are some flaws for sure. Like I can agree with
Yeah,
that.
like it's a tough. I just don't like traditionally really enjoy biopics as much as I enjoy other movies. Like if you I think Lincoln was good because Lincoln decided to tell his story in terms of the 13th Amendment specifically. So like there was, other stuff to set up who he was, but it was just this part in his life. And I think that kind of focus makes it easier to tell it like more of a story and keep the movie moving. But even Lincoln, I feel like they had to, even though it didn't happen at the same time, be like, we end the movie with the assassination because obviously you can't not put that in the movie about Abraham Lincoln. But there's enough of that in the beginning of Vice that I can see someone being like, okay, well, why are we watching this and then this and then this and then this? And it's like, well, you kind of have to understand how he got into politics, and you're gonna have to understand how he met this guy, even though the story part of it is about kind of him ascending and get complete control of everything. Like that one scene where I think maybe that was where it really kicked off for me. What you were describing with the George Bush stuff was good, but there's that one scene where he starts taking over Washington via like little monopoly, and it wasn't like monopoly pieces,
Oh
but like
yeah,
the board game.
Stratego, yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that was great, and stuff like that where Adam McKay visualizing stuff that you don't really get, you wouldn't see another director think to do something that way, but like it is kind of hard. I mean, finance is obviously more complicated than politics, but it's another thing that's really hard to understand, and having someone take
Matt,
you through
hello,
that easy.
hello, Matt. I think you cut out for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sec.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Are you
there you go.
there?
You're back.
Okay, sorry.
All right,
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah. I saw my stream stopped, and then you froze, but okay, we're good.
All right.
But I don't know where I left off, but basically just politics is confusing and he makes it easier to understand. That's all
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got.
yeah. And also, you brought up a good point where, like, I'm a huge Michael Lewis fanboy as well. I love all of his books.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a book as well written that is honestly like really subtly funny as The Big Short to adapt, and then you have the pairing of Adam McKay's style, it's very zany and matter of fact, but also has some good nuance in it. When you have those two kind of those factors in a film, you're kind of destined for like a kind of a breakout hit, like you saw with The Big Short. With with uh
Yeah.
with with Vice, it definitely was an exercise in style. Like this is Adam McKay's style, and I'm excited to see more. But there were some things that some things didn't really work. Like for example, even though I like some of the non-linear stuff, it didn't really work. Like for some parts, like for example, we start the movie in '63, then we jump to 9/11, then we have the whole like montage of America, then we go back to '63, then we go
Mm-hmm.
farther when he's older, and then we go back 9/11. We should start the movie at 9/11, and we should cut the scene like where it's like the credits come, the narrator comes, then go back to '63, and then obviously jump around a little bit, but like have the beginning of the movie be like a pro or like a honestly in this way like an epilogue almost in the beginning where like we see what we've come to and then we see how we get there after the credits roll, which I think would be a little better and a little more succinct. But yeah, like I don't know, like if you don't like Adam McKay's style, you won't like the movie for sure. I understand that. That's why it's so polarizing. But for me,
Yeah.
I was just I was just a huge fan of it. Even with the
And
flaws
then on
aside.
top of it, like, I mean, all the performances are just so good. And he
Christian
is,
Bale looked more like Dick Cheney than fucking Dick Cheney does.
yeah, he's perfect. And I could watch him do that all day.
Oh,
Like, it's just so
there
interesting
we
to
go.
see him.
Yeah, man, he was incredible and also underrated. Fucking Amy Adams as Lynn Cheney was great. Like
Yeah,
she was
I liked her a
fantastic.
lot. I'm trying to think. There's somebody else in the movie. Like obviously Steve Carell and Sam Rockwell were great. Who else was in this? Because I saw this movie over like what would have been like what was Christmas break, so it's been a little while. I'm gonna look at the cast list real quick.
Yeah,
Uh, I guess I forget who it was. Somebody on his team. One of Dick Cheney's guys. I
the
found.
guy with the glasses. I forget his name, but he's in like everything.
Yeah, Eddie Marsan. It must have been.
Yeah, yeah, that's him. That's him. Good actor. Really good
Yeah,
actor.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was, yeah. I mean, it's. I'd like to see. I mean, I'd like to see another thing like this. I think so. What I'm looking at right now, because I pulled up Adam McKay's filmography, it looks like the next thing he's going to do is a. I don't know if it's like a biopic, but some sort of movie about the Theranos founder. You remember that woman who like made a biotech company that was
Oh,
allegedly
right.
fraudulent or something like that. Um, Let me double check. Yeah, something called Bad Blood is the next thing he's got in the tank. So that could be really interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
entrepreneur Elizabeth Holmes creates a biotech company that skyrockets her to fame with an estimated value in the billions. When federal agencies begin investigating the company, her integrity is called into doubt.
that sounds like a picture of an Adam McKay movie where it's like the premise
Yeah,
is like something that's like very minute in history, but like it's investigating maybe potentially complex political or financial issues. Like that sounds like it's like movie made for me for to be honest with you because wait, John Carrier wrote a book for it. Interesting.
I
I'll have to
was
look it
looking
up.
at that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know Vanessa Taylor, but the name sounds kind of familiar. Oh, I guess she wrote some Game of Thrones and Shape of Water. So yeah, it's good,
Sweet.
solid writer on board.
And Jennifer Lawrence is
Um,
in it too. She's playing the main character. That's crazy. That's awesome.
yeah, so that should be fun. I don't know what the timeline on that is, but
Yeah.
hopefully, I'm imagining that'll be his next thing. Although back to superheroes, there's all those rumors that he's going to be Adam McKay is going to be involved with something. Like who knows what what project, but like
Yeah, we tweeted about it a little bit.
Galactic or Silver Surfer or Nova or something. So those could be interesting.
Really interesting because and actually Alex from High Top brought this up in another podcast that I did with him where like I would love Adam McKay to do a Gardens movie. I really would. I mean, James Gunn's always been
Hmm.
my guy because like I think he got shafted with the whole firing thing for no
Oh
reason.
yeah.
But like um what I want to see is Adam McKay do like a superhero movie but something that's completely different in his own style. Like Guardians 3, obviously it's zany humor and it's like kind of irreverent, so like you can see him kind of transitioning smoothly into that, but like I would love to see him do like a Moon Knight movie or something like that. Like I would love to see him do
Yeah.
if he's going to stay in the space thing, definitely do like Silver Surfer or something totally cosmic and out of this world or something like that.
Yeah, like I don't think he needs to do a I mean he seems interested in cosmic stuff, and at least before the gun firing I think that was the direction we knew Marvel was going to go in phase 3 or phase 4.
Yeah.
And now I imagine they still plan to, but I think the plan was to kind of make James Gunn the new Russo brothers, and now we know that's not happening. But I wouldn't mind seeing him do something like not like politics or finance driven, but just something really like like weird. Like I would love to see a, the story of like Wonder Man or something, or like
Yeah.
some character that like is lives in a serious world but doesn't take the world that seriously. Um, and I'm trying to think of like a good Marvel team or hero. Like he could be Captain Britain, could be fun.
Yeah.
Then he could also
Yeah.
do Fantastic Four,
I
maybe.
was gonna say that too. So I was gonna say either Fantastic Four for something to like newly bring it to the MCU, but like if Deadpool had never been made, I feel like Deadpool has
Oh
his
yeah.
name fucking all over it. Like he would be all over that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then like honestly, if he was in DC, instead of Marvel, if you could do like something like centered on Lex Luthor as a character, like
Sure.
go into obviously Lex Luthor becomes the president in a lot of comic interpretations, like and kind of go through like that
Mm-hmm.
political that struggle to get to the White House and stuff would be pretty cool to see from him. But at any rate, like I think anything he does in the kind of superhero genre would be really, really interesting to see. I don't care what he does. I just don't want him to do a carbon copy of like what James Gunn did. And
Right.
I'm predicting they're gonna fucking hire James Gunn back because they really shafted him for no reason. So I think that after this acquisition with Fox is done, I'm hoping to hire him back. I'm not. Don't quote me on that, but
I would love it, but I feel like there's just been so much. Like Bob Iger is just so dug in on this that his. I mean, I've only heard what everybody else has heard, but it does seem like Kevin Feige gets it, and he would be like cool with it. But um, I think that this is just kind of. I don't see him coming back, but I think like I would love, because now that he's doing Suicide Squad, right? That's a movie that can kind of fit his interests or like his, the character. I would also love to see, because I know there was a time when it. Well, okay, so there's two. He was going to do there's a Plastic Man movie living somewhere in the DC universe. I think it could be fun to see him do that. But also there was and I feel like this keeps coming up, some sort of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold team up movie. I think the energies of those characters would be fun to kind
Yeah.
of pair together, and also just like the, you know, time travel. Seeing him like explain, different things about time travel or what his time was like could be fun, and that's why like Ant-Man would have been perfect for him.
I know.
So bums me out that Adam McKay. I mean, he hypothetically could do Ant-Man 3, and I don't think the Ant-Man movies are anything so special that you can't change the
Yeah.
director right now.
Peyton
But it
Reed is
doesn't
like
seem like
such a
that's what they're doing.
bland fucking director, man. Like, I mean, he makes fine movies. It's like whatever. I wasn't a huge fan of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I mean, maybe less than for Ant-Man, but like, dude, like those movies, like there's nothing really like original about like the flair that the director has in those movies, at least in my opinion. Like Peyton Reed is a serviceable director. I'm not saying he's not. Like he's made some fine stuff, but like there's nothing like that like jumps out at you and grabs you and says this is Ant-Man. Like things like Guardians of the Galaxy does, what the Captain America movies do.
I think they could definitely make, like, I don't know. I mean, especially with the first one, I was like, well, Payne Reed didn't have that much control over the project, and they just kind of threw him in it. And I don't know. Ant-Man and the Wasp is fine, but I feel like it could use, like, that would be very fun with someone with more like flair. And if you really gave the keys to someone out of nowhere, not like out of nowhere, but out of just being like, here's a character, take him, Quentin Tarantino, do whatever you want. Like, obviously they would never do Quentin Tarantino, but something like that.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like I have, what was the one I was thinking? I mean, there's so many of the things that I've read recently that I have on my little, like, I mean, you guys can't see it, but like, what do we have here? Like, I know they're making a Deadly Class movie or a show, and I think it's all already kind of out. But like, I would love to get Adam McKay something that isn't connected to anything and isn't linear, and I mean, it is linear, but you can just,
let him do his
mess
thing.
around with the continuity. Yeah. And like, but yeah, I don't know what it would be, or like where he would go, especially since all these projects have been like kind of snapped up by different studios. He strikes me as like the action. It's like he's a lot like Matthew Vaughn.
Exactly. Yeah.
In terms of like dynamic editing and camera work. So like, I could see him do anything that I could see Matthew Vaughn do. But apparently he's just got Kingsman movies that he's gonna do for the rest of his life, which, if the next one is good, and if the next one is not good, he should stop doing them and do something different.
Yeah, because Kingsman #2 didn't really rub me the right way, for sure.
Hated it. Made me so disappointed.
I was not a fan of it at all. I was trying to be nice in case you actually like enjoyed it, but I really hated it. Like,
I loved Kingsman 1. It's like one of my favorite movies. I have a poster somewhere in my living room. Yeah. So fun and different. And Kingsman 2 was not. Kingsman 2 was, I don't know what it was.
That's another topic for another day. I can go for like an hour and a half on that. But yeah, to round out the Adam McKay thing, Adam McKay, like the way he directs and the way he puts the movie together and like the way they're edited, it kind of, like, you've seen David O. Russell movies, right? Like American Hustle and The Fighter and stuff. The way like he lets his actors kind of play, and like they're kind of like, it's hard to explain, but like I feel like Adam McKay is like David O. Russell, but on cocaine and steroids. Like, it's like like he dials in the zaniness and like the absolute like ludicrous nature of like what he's filming, but he still centers around character, like even if it's in like a very, very subtle way. And yeah, like I feel like he has a lot to give cinema. I mean, you saw my video essay on that. I think he's one of the most exciting directors that are working today. I think he's got a lot to give, whether it's a superhero movie or just this political stuff. I love them all. So, hopefully he has some more stuff to give.
Not to get like political, not even, this isn't political. In the next, 10 years from now, we will get a new movie about some facet of the Trump organization every week. So his take on that will probably be fun. Like, I just feel like there will be a lot of interesting stories to tell, but also maybe it'd be fun to give him like a period, like give him a Lincoln, something that's set.
Yeah, I was going to say like something like kind of old timey. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bunch of I've always wanted a. I mean, they've made a fair amount of fun stories about prohibition, but there's a great book. I forget what it's called that I read a while back about prohibition. That really is like the Big Short of that. Let me see what it's called. But I'd love to see him take a shot at that because I think that's the most. Oh, Last Call. Yeah, I think it's one of the most interesting periods in like um, U.S. history, and it's just all the movies about it are about the mob, and there's so much more than that in there. But yeah,
Interesting.
that could be fun.
It's called
Adam
Last
McKay, if
Call.
you're listening, yeah, Last Call. It's just a history of prohibition.
Who's it by?
And like I can't remember. I just had the tab open, but if you Google like Last Call
Yeah,
book,
Prohibition
it's
book. Yeah.
Daniel O'Carroll.
Oh, sweet. All right. I'm looking for like a good book, like of like the Roaring Twenties and shit. So I definitely want to.
Yeah. And it's like there's a chapter on just how people got around the law and made wine, or a chapter about how like the guy I'd heard this before, but like the government started poisoning alcohol to get people to not drink it. So like there's a whole bit on that, and yeah, I find it fascinating.
What with like fucking
And
methanol or some shit?
kind of yeah, I forget exactly what it was, but there was some. It was crazy, and it's one of those things where you hear about it and you're like, yeah, I could see our like just the government doing that at any time,
Yeah.
but they were just so behind on like controlling and like enforcing prohibition that it was just like I guess they got really desperate. And I guess Boardwalk Empire is a good show about prohibition, but I found that show just pretty boring, so I
Yeah.
never got super into it.
Yeah, there were good visual stuff in that show, but it was kind of boring to be honest, dude. All right, so
Yeah,
let's go on to the last topic. I mean, like I'm not a huge Oscars guy, but like it's kind of fun to like look at them every now and then. But are there any people that you think got snubbed? Or actually, okay, backtrack. Do you think there are any films that wrongfully got a nomination?
let me look at the list.
All
I
right,
mean, the two that everyone's saying don't
Green
deserve
Book
it.
does not deserve Best Picture. Bohemian
Sure.
Rhapsody does not worth Best Picture. And Black Panther compared to The Dark Knight or Spider-Man 2 does most certainly not fucking deserve Best Picture. Like the fact that like honestly, like okay, I like Black Panther. I'm not saying I don't. It's nowhere near good enough to warrant a Best Picture nomination, in my opinion. Like I think it's pretty derivative for most of it, to be honest with you. And I think that
Yeah.
like the fact that like the movie is so overhyped, it's like it kind of goes to show where it's like the whole popularity factor plays a massive role in a film, which is true. I think that popularity does serve a film well, but like you can't just substitute popularity for quality. And I think that's something that like they wanted to make like a new category of like best popular film. No, it should be
Hmm.
the popular films should strive to be better instead of a Academy Award being dedicated for okay, who made the most money.
Right. I think the problem with the Academy Awards at a fundamental level that I've realized listening to everybody talk about this is there is no even like its objective would be insane, but just I cannot find a quantifiable explanation for what the best picture is.
Yeah.
Like some people have said Black Panther deserves to be the best picture nominee because it was different and it was important, which is an interesting word to use to describe film. I would say just as like from a cultural perspective, sure, Black Panther is important, and if that is what best picture is, if it can be a movie that's well made and like for some reason culturally significant, then yeah. But I cannot for the like I've looked and looked and looked. I'm sure there's an explanation somewhere, but I just can't find the rules. Like what we're supposed to be judging them against because yeah, I mean I saw Black Klansman, love that, very
Yeah.
good. I hadn't
Me too.
finished it, but I was close. And I hear the end is very very depressing, so I'm fine with that. I saw Black Panther, I saw Vice. I haven't seen any of the rest of these because they're all some sort of biopic, and I'm never, especially musical biopics, I'm never super into. I guess The Star Is Born isn't a biopic, but it's like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And
It
then
it's good.
I would love to see The Favorite. Like if that was in a theater near me, it probably is. Wouldn't mind
Yeah.
taking an afternoon to watch that. And then Roma's on Netflix, so I have no excuse. But I had a list of like because I think there are a bunch of popular movies this year, or not even popular, just not Oscar movies
Yeah.
that you could reasonably consider for whatever reason that they are like Best Picture, because like I mean I have been on Team Paddington 2 for a very long time.
Oh,
I
it's a
think
great
it is
movie.
a
Yeah.
terrific movie, and it is, I think the reason it probably deserves to be in the running for Best Picture is because it is the best version of any of those movies.
Yeah.
Like you can't make, in my opinion, a better kids, Paddington-y movie than that. So like that's probably in the running for Best Picture. I wouldn't be like I wouldn't be expecting a movie like Mission Impossible 6 to get nominated for Best Picture, but like that movie was something almost transcendent in terms of action, action filmmaking and
Yeah.
and stuff
100%.
like that. Like I think that movie's terrific. I like
The thing that really grinds my gears, like Avengers: Infinity War is infinitely better
mhm.
written than fucking Black Panther, and Black Panther
Oh,
gets a
for sure.
nomination. Like the fact that that is the fucking case, like we have a movie that is infinitely more compelling, and even people that like Black Panther will tell you that. Like that Infinity War is a compelling movie. The fact that that is not nominated and Black Panther is, when honestly, like I found the movie kind of dull and kind of bland, to be completely honest with
Black
you.
Panther.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because it like even when you're talking about not necessarily important, but like different or significant in some way, like I understand why Black Panther is on that list, and it's very obvious why it is
Yeah.
because of the, African American or just African community and how little of an influence that has on films.
Yeah.
And then when you start thinking about like, well, is Infinity War different or significant for some reason? Like, oh yeah, it's an insane project. Like just the idea of making a movie with all of those characters and
And the
so many
villain is the
different,
main character of the movie. Like,
and it all worked. Like I have not heard someone say that Infinity War was just bad. Like I've heard nothing but either it's great or it's like really, really good. Like I mean, you compare it to like a movie like Ant-Man, where Ant-Man's very much like a product, and it feels very like kind of it's been produced. Like Infinity War is just something else. So like I think it would be reasonable to give them a nomination. What was the other one I wanted? I put out a tweet the other day that someone responded to, but oh, I don't know if everybody saw this, and I have trouble with this in Paddington and also First Reformed, which I haven't seen, but I
it's
hear is
very
also
good.
great.
Very, very
When did
good.
it come out? Like, is it a this year movie? Because
Oh,
on
yeah.
IMDb it says 2017.
I'm
Um,
pretty sure it came out like earlier this year. Like, I want to say, like, I forget what month I saw it in, but like, I want to
I'm
say
sure you're right.
yeah, like, I
I
want to say
feel
I
like
watched it like over the summer, I think.
I think it must have gotten a limited release somewhere and then a wide release somewhere else or some
Yeah,
version of that.
I think
I
so.
guess it did festivals in 2017 and then it kind of
And then it
got a
released,
wide
yeah.
release in May
Yeah,
or
yeah. I remember seeing this like in early spring or mid spring. It came out May 18th. So,
so
yeah.
like the other one like that I mean Paddington I also had trouble with because that was, I guess I had trouble figuring out if that was this year or last year, and it was this year in America, last year and everywhere else. But have you seen Death of Stalin?
I haven't seen it now.
That movie is unreal in terms of just it's so funny and it's so like unusual in the way it tells its story. I think that movie deserves some sort of recognition, but like it's a comedy and they're never comedies in Best Picture. Like they have to be kind of like Vice, where it's a comedy sometimes, but it's mostly very serious and like, you can't like I don't think it would have been crazy. I don't know what it would be, but like if like a movie like I don't know, like Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, I would say put that in Best Picture
Oh
because
yeah,
it's the
Hot
best
Fuzz
version
for
of that
sure.
movie. But like they never would. Even the other one that I wanted that everybody wanted was Spider Verse. Put
Y-
Spider Verse in Best Picture. It's the best version of that movie you could
Dude,
possibly make.
like every fucking Pixar movie ever at least gets one Best Picture nod,
Yeah.
like whenever they come out. And actually, I'm actually I liked Incredibles too. I don't think it deserves like a Best Picture nomination, so I'm glad that it's not
Nah,
there. But like,
it's not that good.
like I thought it was fine, but whatever. But Spider Verse is legitimately an original animated movie. It's not just like this fucking cherry picking, like stupid, like tepid animated film that we see a million and one times. It legitimately takes risks in the movie, and the
Yeah.
fact that it's not being appreciated to the nearly the degree that it is in the awards. I mean, the audience loves it. Everyone in America loves it, so it's fine. But like. Yeah, like put that in
Yeah.
Best Picture.
I wish they like were able to kind of like the way Venom and Deadpool like just decided to market their movies completely like deceptively like, oh, it's a romantic comedy. Like, sure. I wish someone would do that with like a these because to win an Academy Award, you don't. I mean, I guess if you made a movie like I don't know, like The Favorite, maybe, or well, definitely like a Black Klansman type of movie where it's very good and it just reeks of Oscar movie. You
Yeah.
probably don't have to promote it that much, but like if you want a Roma or a Vice, you have to buy a billion ads, and it's a whole political process. And I saw a
Yeah.
tweet from Boots Riley just saying like people were asking like, why didn't Sorry to Bother You get nominated for anything? And he's like, we didn't take out ads, so we just didn't we didn't bother. Which I totally respect. And I thought that movie was interesting. I don't know if I would say it was like Best Picture, but it was also very risky. But
Yeah, I
what
never
was I
saw
saying?
it, but I heard it was pretty good though.
But I think you could take Spider-Verse and just make a poster with some of the actors. Just pretend it's a different movie. Call it S-Verse or something, and it's got Mahershala Ali and who are some of these other movies or actors like Shamik Moore and Lily Tomlin and Liev Schreiber, and just be like, isn't this a great movie? And Chris Pine, and don't you want to vote for this movie? And then when they go vote for it, they're like, oh, that was the Spider-Man movie. They tricked me. I'll still vote for it. Because like it's just so it was so good. It didn't even get Best Original Song, which I don't know what all the rest of those were, like how they stack up as like original songs, but like that score was amazing. Not score, the soundtrack was amazing, and like
Yeah.
it would be very cool if they gave What's Up Danger or something like that some love, but they refuse
Yeah,
because
it just
it's
sucks
not
because I mean,
wrong.
obviously we can say what we want, like when we're fucking fans in our armchairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but it just it blows that like there are so many films that like don't fall under the archetypal like Oscar bait category, and just because they either don't come out at the right time or they're marketed a certain way in which they're not ascertainable to that kind of ethos, like the fact that those aren't even considered for Best Picture, or like just people are blissfully ignorant to them, it's just kind of upsetting because like there are so many films that go under the fucking wayside. And yeah, like you said, like there are a bunch of movies that like I really think should have gotten at least some kind of nod for Best Picture. Like
Yeah.
I love the point you brought up. It's the best version of whatever genre is being presented. Like Shaun of the
Hmm.
Dead is a fucking horror slash comedy slash adventure film, and it is the best of all of those categories in that specific year. Like that should be like considered in some way, not
And I
just
guess
like yeah,
the other one that people were mad about, and it was a couple of them, but any horror something that people loved, The Quiet Place, people loved
yeah,
Hereditary. Like not everybody, but it was enough of like a movie that everyone seemed to agree was quality in some way that it's like, yeah, put one of those in, because it really just feels like the Academy is like, we think these are great movies. Obviously, a drama gets Best Picture, but like comedies and action movies and children's movies and horror movies and sci-fi, usually none of them, why would they get Best Picture? Because they're silly things and not serious movies where
not
everyone
theater
cries.
and art. Like shut the
Yeah.
fuck up.
Like I feel like looking at 2019, the only movies that are like these big popular movies that I think have any shot, I think maybe Endgame. If it's amazing, it really sticks the landing and it has like a giant cultural moment, then maybe that could do it.
I think
And
Tarantino's movie is
then
gonna be the biggest runner for like popular films. Like
yeah, I have trouble with that one because everyone hates Johnny Depp, and I could see it just getting enough because he's in it, right? There's somebody in it that is like so toxic right
it's
now.
Brad Pitt and Leo DiCaprio, I believe, that are the two
Oh, never
leads.
mind.
I
They're
forget who's
pretty
it. Hold on, wait.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I thought there was something about it that people were just like, oh, it was Emil Hirsch, who he has a weird past, but
Really, I haven't heard about that, but
he like I mean, I think he went to prison, not prison, but like he got arrested. Something he did it with like I want to say allegedly like attacked some woman at Sundance or something like that a couple of years
yikes.
back. He disappeared from Hollywood for I'm sure some pretty good reason. But yeah, no, that I mean once, and it's about Hollywood, and that's the other thing that like if you make a movie about
Yeah,
filmmaking or the process of how great Hollywood is, then yeah, you'll probably be fine. You'll
yeah,
probably get some sort of like award or at least recognition. So like yeah, they have a good shot. I think maybe Lion King, if it makes a gajillion dollars, maybe that'll get
yeah.
noticed. But like looking right now at everything, I'm not seeing anything right now that I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely gonna,
Yeah.
gonna win the Irishman, the
Oh
Scorsese
yeah,
mobster movie.
that's
You
gonna
know
be
who?
interesting.
If they wanted to go real left to center, that Joker movie, if that's amazing,
Yeah.
because everyone has told me, because I would never, not would never, but the movies that Joaquin Phoenix is in usually aren't movies I would sit down and enjoy, like the new one he's in about
Wait, what
some
about
guy that
her? Her's a
killed.
great movie.
Oh no, no, no! I'm talking about the three he did this year.
Oh, okay,
That are
okay,
also
gotcha,
like,
gotcha.
her is great, and like I Joaquin Phoenix is wonderful, even though I can't spell his name for the life of me. I have to
J
IMDb
Q
her and then
U
work
E C
backwards.
N I.
Yeah, it's Jaoquin. So yeah, you're on your own, Joaquin. But he made a movie this year called "You Were Never Really Here," I think,
Oh yeah, I
that
never saw
is
that one.
apparently amazing, and like it seems like the Academy just does not care for him. But he's in. I'm sure whatever he's got next year is maybe going to be. Or I was saying Joker. Maybe that's going to be something, something special that people care about. But and maybe they'll all just feel bad about not giving Heath Ledger an award and be like, just give the next Joker that isn't terrible some sort of award. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Okay, all right. So you brought something up. So this is the last thing. We've been talking forever, so I appreciate you being on here. But the Jungle Book. So in 2016, you saw the movie, right?
I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
You know what? I watched it and I enjoyed it and I was like, this is good. And then I went back and watched the original Jungle Book because I was like, I wonder how similar this is and how different it is. And like the original Jungle Book, while interesting, is like so different because this story is just not the same kind of it's a completely different kind of movie. So I really didn't mind remaking Jungle Book for
Thank you. Yes.
as its own thing.
Yeah.
I think some of the mouths of animals doesn't work as well as I'd always want. Like it's just some of it looks weird.
Yeah.
Um,
But some of the
but
shit
yeah.
like Bagheera, that panther looked fucking real. Like
Hmm.
the visual effects were incredible. Even though like some of the things I think with the mouths is kind of jarring, like fucking Christopher Walken as orangutan is like pretty hilarious and awesome. But
Yeah.
but but
I
but
forgot
so
about that.
but so the debate that I got on the Secret podcast a couple weeks ago now, they were vehement. So like first of all, like I love Jon Favreau. I think that he's
Hmm.
a very underrated director, and he's shown himself to be a visual master with like CGI and all that kind of stuff. So I was saying that the Lion King remake looks pretty good because like it's going to be a live action thing, and like he did some really interesting stuff with visuals. And the Jungle Book, and obviously I love the original Lion King, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does with visuals. And they all jumped down my throat like a motherfucker, and like they were like, "How the fuck dare you remake that fucking movie?" And I was like, just because I want to see like some interesting visuals doesn't mean that I'm like a hack and I'm advocating for like unoriginality in cinema. So like, I guess my question is long-winded form of that, but what do you think about this whole Lion King remake that's happening, or I guess Disney remakes in general?
It's tough because some of them, it's like you have four this year if you count, or there's three. There's Dumbo, Aladdin, Lion King, and I feel like there's something else that's kind of like sneaking around in the Disney. Well, I guess you could
Aladdin is
Artemis
one of them.
Fowl,
Fucking
but there's something else that was on my radar. Like Disney's just making a billion movies this year, and they're going to make like $10 billion off Frozen, Toy Story, all the Marvel stuff, like Star Wars. It's just insane. But I guess it was only those three. So like I feel like each of them is a weird and specific special case for why these will or won't work. Dumbo is going to make huge changes to the story. So the reason for that one existing is like Dumbo is a cool story. People want to see it. Like the themes of it and the heart of the story is great, but the actual plot itself is kind of inaccessible because it doesn't work super well. So we're gonna make a lot of changes, set it in the live action. Fine. Aladdin, I think, is going to be a disaster. I
me
have
too.
absolutely no faith in that.
Will Smith
And
is the genie. That's yeah.
I read an interview with the guy that plays Aladdin. He was like, "Yeah, I can't really sing," but they were like, "We'll teach you to sing." That's never a good sign. If you're in a musical or like if you have multiple singing numbers.
Solo songs. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like so I'm not super, and just like it doesn't. So the way that like I feel like you have to kind of really nail, like with Black Panther, you have to like they got lucky because they had a fictional country, so they didn't have to really emulate anything really specifically. But like everything that's coming out of that is like this outfit actually isn't from that part of the world; it's from a different part of the world. Like there's so many details and places they can screw up that'll lose the rest of the goodwill they would have for a project like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then they're taking away, what was it? Jafar's a love interest now. Like there's no individual change that I think could ruin this. It just does seem like kind of a, well, why are you doing this? Is
Yeah.
it because you have a great idea or new technology you want to pioneer? Because I feel like the Aladdin story as a story is pretty great. So I think that's going to be a nightmare. Also, just like looking at scenes from the tiny bit of trailer they've shown next to the scenes from Aladdin, you're like, this looks like dingy. Like this looks like I said in my I don't know what it is. It looks like it's filmed underwater because everything's blue and purple and hard to see. So like if you do a movie like that and you mute the visual spectacle of it by putting it in live action, then that's a big it's a big red flag that that movie is not going to be good. But then Lion King, I'm so like split on because on one hand, I think Lion King is as close to a perfect movie as Disney Animation's produced. Like it's just
Yeah,
like
it's
just great.
fantastic. But so the point I was making in the podcast was like, I fully recognize that the original Lion King is like a superb, like sublime movie. I love it. Like I watch it at least once a year. But like I was taken aback by the things that Jon Favreau was able to do with the fucking Jungle Book. Where like honestly, I'm just curious what he'll do with visual flares. But I feel like they're viewing it as if you even put it in the same realm, it bastardizes the movie by default. And I feel like I'm able to segment those feelings that I have for one interpretation versus the original like a little more easily, I guess. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that, see, I don't have like super strong opinions one way or the other, but there was some sort of conference where they showed footage like on a big screen, which is this thing that's in the trailer that you can see, I guess the Circle of Life bit, but apparently it's like the most amazing thing ever. So like that kind of thing makes me go like, yeah, make this movie. If you really like, if you've got a good cast and you've got some sort of technology that makes it worthwhile, go for it. Like I think I wouldn't mind. I think Toy Story, that series is very good, and I'm not psyched about 4 just because it's like you finished it, you don't
Exactly.
have to
You
make
bookended
more.
it. Yeah.
But I really wouldn't mind if they did what video games do and just start remastering movies. Like just take Toy Story 1, take all the effects and like all that stuff and just make it better, re-release it, because Toy Story 1 kind of looks bad when you start getting into the people or, the animals like the dog. It's kind of jarring. Um so I wouldn't mind like even like Incredibles 1 versus Incredibles 2 if instead of adding on to that franchise, just release a really good looking one. I would be totally cool with that. The one thing about Lion King that I don't want to forget is if there is one reason why I'm not psyched about it, apparently they cut out Scar's song. So
Oh,
that's not good.
be prepared. Yeah, that sucks.
Can't do that. That's the best part of the
Yeah, it's a
movie. But
badass thing with the hyenas and the green fucking lava pits. Damn it.
yeah, and all the allegories that it
Yeah,
involves,
exactly.
but just in general, like, that's not my favorite song in that movie because all the songs in that movie are also great. But yeah, I mean, I understand why people aren't psyched about it, but I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be fine to good. But and it'll make a bill. It's gonna make so much money.
Yeah, I know it is. It really is. But yeah, like I'm pretty excited for it just for like the visual side of things. Like I mean, like Jon Favreau literally does some jaw dropping shit with visuals, which no one expected, but I mean, he just does now, which is pretty crazy.
And
Who would
most of the cast is like people I like just
First of all, John
actors that.
Oliver as Zazu is the most perfect
Yep.
casting I've ever heard in my life. Like unreal.
Yeah, Donald Glover, he's cool.
Yeah, he's
Like
great.
none of these people are people that I'm like, I want them to fail. Like Billy Eichner, I like Billy Eichner. Like Beyonce, she's cool. Like there's nobody in there. Like Eric Andre is awesome. I'm looking at this cast now, trying
Who's
to
playing Scar again?
find
Is it Jeremy Irons?
Chico Ejiofor, which is weird because Jeremy Irons is still alive. They got James Earl Jones back for Mufasa. I don't see why you can't just get Jeremy Irons in, but I guess
Yeah.
I guess they want to get a new cast, except for James Earl Jones. But yeah, no, everything about that movie has enough goodwill behind it, like with this, that I don't see how it could fail or be a movie I don't like enjoy.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
sure I'm going to see it at least once in IMAX, humongous 3D, whatever.
You know, that's honestly too. It's like a spectacle. Well,
And
dude, like,
apparently,
yeah,
I was just gonna say it's written by the guy who wrote um, Catch Me If You Can. Uh, what was the other one? Speed 2, Cruise Control, and Rush Hours 2 and 3. So that is also a pretty good sign. Love those Rush Hours.
yeah, for sure. Wait, Catch Me If You Can was the first one, then Speed 2, and then
Yeah,
Rush Hour 2 and 3. That's very
not
divergent
in any
movies.
order, but just those are, yeah, exactly. Those are very different. I don't know what this guy's deal is. If he just has, if he just stands outside offices and is like, "Oh, can
Yeah,
I write your movie?"
yeah. I think Catch Me If You
But
Can is one of the most underrated movies ever. I love that movie. That movie's great.
yeah, that didn't win that many awards.
No,
That's why the Oscars are bad. They should have known.
fuck the Oscars,
2002. They messed it up.
fuckers. All right.
Um,
Hey,
yeah.
man. I mean, this has been a lot of fun. I definitely want
hmm
to have you back on. If maybe I'll let my true memeing side, out next time if you're not scared off by now. But yeah, really enjoyed having you on here again.
I'm trying to think of what the next like event is that would make for a
Well,
good
well,
a good show or
I mean,
something
the
like the.
obvious one is probably going to be Avengers Endgame, which is like, we'll have our own podcast and stuff. I mean, but you and I are professed comic book nerds. I mean, you have two Thanos gloves behind you and Captain America shield.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I mean, there's so much shit in this room, but it's hard to turn the camera even a little bit because it's filthy. Outside of what I have on my desk actually that I got as a gift from a friend is, I don't know if you had this when you were a kid, because I used to, but I
Holy
don't.
shit!
I haven't like messed around
I
with it
remember
yet,
that
but
shit.
yeah, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which is I'm actually excited. I want to like actually go through it and kind of learn how many heads tall this character is supposed to be, and like all those rules of it. But yeah, no, I'm a huge Marvel shill fanboy. They
Yeah, me
pay me
too.
for all my good reviews. It's awesome. Everyone should do it. I don't see why
Oh man.
everyone doesn't.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have you on here again. But yeah, really great talking to you again. I have your link in the bottom of the screen, but just tell everyone where they can find you. Just different.
Totally. Yeah. I have my YouTube channel, Nando V Movies, which is the main thing, where I do rewrites and just commentary in general on movies, usually comic book movies, because those have the background information that makes it easy to sub in a character. And then beyond that, I have a podcast called Mostly Nitpicking, where me and my co-host DJ, who was in the chat, I'm not sure if he still is, but he we just pick apart a movie. We're kind of like a not obnoxious CinemaSins kind of, where we take a movie like Glass and go, all right, let's try to figure out what this character was actually up to. And I mean, Glass is such a good one for that. But yeah, we do one every week, and usually either it's something people suggest or it's whatever that week's movie is. So we find us wherever podcasts are found. And that's about it. Yeah, those are the two big ones. Also, I have a Redbubble store. I don't know if you saw this. The other day, I make like, not make, but every so often I'll be like, that would be a fun sticker, and then I'll make that sticker or commission a sticker for myself. So like, there's one I have on some laptops that's like the Marvel Studios logo, but with Nando V Movies in it. And one day during lunch, I made Patrick H. Williams actually suggested, like, there should be, why isn't there some sort of shirt or something that says Orm was right? Some like, Aquaman,
Oh,
fake Aquaman propaganda. And I was like, you know what? That probably wouldn't be too hard. So I made where's my, I want to kind of find him. I don't know how any of Redbubble works, but I made uh, I don't know how. Yeah, I really don't know how this works. But anyway, there's some sort of sticker that I made that you can find online. And it's just Orm for Ocean Master, like a political
oh.
like bumper sticker. And People thought it was cool. Like they tweeted it out here. I finally found the link. I don't know why it's so hard for me to do. And then Patrick Wilson, the actor that plays Orm, found it and he tweeted it out too and liked it. So that's a thing that I do from time to time. I don't know how to find it. I think you go to redbubble.com/people/NandoViewMovies, but if
Yeah,
you
I
want
just
to buy
got it.
one of
That's
those
fucking
flying
hilarious.
off the shelves. um, but yeah, so those are my three ventures. But yeah,
Awesome.
it's been fun.
Yeah, but dude, actually, I think the way we got into contact, you like put on Twitter where it's like suggest like a t-shirt graphic, and then you said like I wanted you
Oh
to like
yeah.
yeah, you like I want to have the ideas of like Gilderoy Lockhart and Justin Hammer, and then I said on one side you have Justin Hammer shooting the
Hmm.
ex-wife, the other side is Gilderoy Lockhart obliviating,
Yeah, and both just like failing
failing.
miserably. Yeah, I'm working on that. I want to kind of actually get my t-shirt store under, not like I want to like take some time and just, really nail it down. And also in the near immediate future, not immediate, like soon, I'm going to be doing some sort of rebranding something. So it would make more sense to start selling shirts once they have the actual logo for the show on them or the
Yeah.
channel.
Well, if you do make the Gilderoy Lockhart and Justin Hammer shirt, you better shout out your boy for
Oh,
the
for
fantastic
sure. I
idea.
will. I will definitely send you one. But there's no such shirt exists right now.
All right. Well, we'll workshop that. But anyway, thank you for listening to us. This has been Nando V Movies, and this has been The Lone Chemist. This is episode 18. Thanks a lot for coming on, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Goodbye, guys.
Peace.